We have an exciting Whether or Not show coming up today. Nature in the News is back. Find out about more flooding that's occurring in the United States, but in a place where you might not expect it. Also coming up, Patrick has a look at the weekend forecast. What will you need to wear to the whiteout game on Saturday evening? Also, have you ever wondered why sunsets are so pretty and colorful? Well, we have a feature coming up explaining the science behind those sunsets. That and more, Whether or Not, starts right now. Hello and welcome to Whether or Not. I am your host, Matt Hoenig.
And I'm your forecaster, Patrick Wright.
Patrick, we've got a change in the air this weekend. Of course, earlier this week, it was a little bit on the rainy side. It was pretty mild. Now some cooler air moving in. What can you tell us about the forecast?
Cooler air, it will be fall, but without the color in the leaves. So that's as much as I'm going to say for now, because I don't want to give too much away, because I think it's pretty great weather, at least in my opinion, coming up.
All right, well, we'll have more on the forecast coming up in just a little bit, but first, it's Nature in the News.
The load capacity of NASA's space missions are about to get a boost from researchers at the Ames Research Facility. Field testing for a new heat shield known as ADAPT, or Adaptable Deployable Placement Technology, began at Spaceport in America in New Mexico. This device is a new type of heat shield made from a flexible 3D woven carbon fabric skin stretched over deployable ribs and struts, much like an umbrella. The heat shield is revolutionary not only for the material it is made of, but also how compact the unit can be, yet still remaining strong enough to sustain the stresses of an atmospheric re-entry. When a rocket or shuttle enters the atmosphere, the gases from the planet are compressed immediately in front of the nose of the spacecraft, creating a lot of heat and stress. With the new heat shield technology, a rocket that usually enters the atmosphere at tens of thousands of miles per hour can withstand the harsh conditions of re-entry while maintaining the integrity of the aircraft and its contents inside. Which means with the ADAPT heat shield, space explorers can bring more things with them, such as larger samples from other planets or more supplies on one trip, reducing the number of overall trips needed for travel. So to those anxious for space travel, you don't have to feel bad when you bring that extra suitcase full of stuffed animals or a priceless knickknacks from outer space.
If you've been noticing that it's getting darker and darker earlier, well, you're certainly not going crazy. In fact, with the autumnal equinox last weekend, we are in the portion of the year where we lose the most daylight per day. On average, we're losing nearly 4 minutes of daylight each day. As you'll see in our almanac coming up later in the show, the sunrise on Friday is 7:04 a.m. and the sun sets at 7 p.m. That is 11 hours and 56 minutes of daylight. A month from Friday, on October 28th, we will only have 10 hours and 35 minutes of daylight. Get ready, those pre-6 p.m. sunsets are quickly approaching.
Polar mesospheric clouds, or PMCs, are clouds that are visible in the upper reaches of the atmosphere, roughly 50 miles high. When observed from the surface, PMCs are known as noctilucent clouds. These clouds are only visible at twilight based on how the sun reflects off the ice crystals, giving a brilliant electric blue or white color, and can only be seen at the polar regions of the Earth. The conditions for these clouds require a perfect mixture of temperature and water vapor to form. Recently, NASA sent a balloon into the atmosphere to try and better understand just that. The balloon was launched from Sweden and eventually made its way into Canada, taking measurements of the temperature and the height of the clouds in the upper portion of the atmosphere. Over the course of the 5-day journey, the balloon also had several cameras attached to the payload, taking over 6 million pictures. When the pictures are stitched together, we can see ripples moving through the clouds. These ripples are known as gravity waves. They are the result of an air mass moving over a piece of land, then causing ripples in the atmosphere, similar to a river flowing over a large rock. These ripples can help us better understand turbulence that occurs in the atmosphere, eventually leading to better models, therefore better forecasts.
While we've seen destructive flooding in the Carolinas recently from Hurricane Florence, another part of the country is dealing with its own flooding issues. According to Fox 29 San Antonio, the heavy rainfall over central Texas recently is causing problems with San Antonio's flooding projects. Over 50 road closures have occurred at the peak of rainfall. Thankfully, the city is concentrating on efforts to reduce the number of closures in the future. In 2017, San Antonio approved nearly 20 projects totaling $10 billion, all dedicated to creating better drainage along roadways. While some of these projects have already commenced, many are not expected to be completed until 2022.
I'm student meteorologist Patrick Wright here with your Central PA forecast, and we're going to start off on Friday. This is going to be a transition day. We have a few showers in the area, mainly in the morning, so by the afternoon that should move out of the area, setting up a very nice weekend. But first, we do have to get through a few showers, maybe spot showers here and there, coming up, just lingering around from this system further towards our south, but otherwise it should be a very calm day. So if you have any activities in the morning, you may get a little sprinkle or two, but not much going on. So with that, we'll move forward into Saturday. And this is a big day here in State College because we have Penn State football here in town taking on Ohio State, which brought in ESPN. So we have a lot going on this day, and it is going to feel like fall. This is the perfect weather for football, the perfect weather for those pumpkin spice lattes, the perfect weather for those sweaters if you want to pull them out, or the cardigans, depending on what you prefer. But we do have a high pressure building in for most of the region, and this will bring some cooler temperatures into the area compared to what we've seen for over the last couple of days, and then giving us a partly cloudy sky for most of the region. Now heading into Sunday, well, that's going to be a little bit different. We have the high pressure moving further towards the New England area, and then we still have it partly to mostly clear sky with those fall temperatures sticking around. But this will be a transition day, but I'll get into those details later on in the program. But first, looking at the details for Friday, 68 degrees for a high. Again, a few showers in the morning, so it's not going to be too bad. This is going to be one of those days you can put on a little bit of a sweater, bring the umbrella, and then you grab a pumpkin spice latte or something. I don't know. Ooh, a pumpkin scone. I love those. I had way too many this week, but they're still pretty good. Otherwise, by Friday night, we do expect a low of 52 degrees, partly cloudy for most of the evening, and this will be the beginning of a dry period for the weekend. 65 degrees for a high on Saturday under a mostly sunny sky. So it's going to be wonderful football weather, especially if you like the 60s for this time of year. So looking at Sunday, that will be a little warmer, 66 degrees under a partly cloudy sky, and then that will set us up for a decent week next week, but those details are coming on later in the program. I'll send it over to Bree with a feature on sunsets. Bree?
As the colder weather approaches and the days get shorter, people may be sad to see the late, warm summer nights where they could sit outside and watch the beautiful sunset go. But I do have some good news for you. Unlike what is happening with the current weather, during the fall and winter months, in the mid-latitudes, especially over the eastern half of the United States, some of the most magnificent and colorful sunsets can be produced as seen all year. As sunlight hits the atmosphere, it is scattered as it encounters small particles. Violets and blues are more easily scattered than reds and oranges because they have a shorter wavelength, making it easier for smaller particles to scatter them. At sunrise and sunset, because of the position of the sun, sunlight takes longer to travel through the atmosphere than it does during the day. This causes the amount of violet and blue that is scattered to increase and the light that is detected by the human eye earlier or later in the day to be more red. However, what causes some sunsets to be more dramatic than others? I asked Penn State's Dr. William Brune to tell us more.
So the colors and whatnot are usually set up by a couple of things. One is, of course, the presence of clouds. That's really important. And the other is the presence of other things that'll scatter light, like aerosol particles that come from, say, forest fires, or come from volcanic eruptions, or come from just pollution. And so those also affect really the colors and what we see in terms of a vibrant sort of sunset. So that's one of the things that makes it spectacular. And then if you have clouds around, that red light is getting reflected off of those clouds. And so you'll see that, but then if you look up at the sky above it, it'll be blue because that's where the blue's scattering. So you get all these nice colors, and that's, I think, what we associate with sunsets.
A common misconception is that low-level pollution and dust causes sunsets to be more colorful. However, this is not the case. Some natural occurrences, such as volcanic eruptions or forest fires, can enhance sunsets because they emit small particles into the higher atmosphere. However, low-level dust and pollution actually diminish sky colors because they tend to be too large to scatter, and also because they reduce both direct and scattered light, especially when the sun angle is low in the sky. Now, why is fall and winter the best time of the year to view sunsets? Well, air circulation is faster during the winter and the air is more dry and clean, which makes amazing scattering opportunities.
Now, how the seasons affect that is, of course, you will tend to have more forest fires in the summer, for example. And so, therefore, you can imagine with all the fires that were occurring out west that there were pretty spectacular sunsets because of that. Of course, devastating effects, but really the sunsets would have been pretty spectacular. Another thing that affects them is the seasons and the angle at which the sun goes into the horizon, which is more in the winter in the northern hemisphere than it is in the summer. So if you have more time coming down through the atmosphere, then that extends the length of time that the sunset is there, so you notice it more.
So get ready for all of the spectacular sunset possibilities that will be sure to brighten up the season. For Whether or Not, I'm Bree.
Well, welcome back to the extended forecast. I'm student meteorologist Patrick Wright, and we're going to take a little bit of a recap here. For our Friday, we do expect a high of 68 degrees and a low of 52, so a few showers in the morning, mainly in the morning, and then tapering off as we head throughout the day. And then by Saturday, 65 degrees for a high, and as I've been saying, it's going to be wonderful football weather. Great time to be here in the Northeast for fall. Just need the leaves to change, and we'll add the perfect scenery to most of the region. And then by Sunday, partly cloudy with a high of 66 and a low of 51. So for our outlook for next week, and we have a general pattern, Tuesday will be a little warmer than average, roughly about mid-70s, and then we cool off by the end of the week. So we can expect a few rumbles of thunder by Thursday, but we'll keep an eye on that over the next couple of days. So get a hold. We do have a partial swing in temperatures for this week, but it's going to be a decent week for most of the week. Maybe partly cloudy sky Wednesday and Friday, and then those will sandwich a few showers and thunderstorms on Thursday.
Well, Patrick, great forecast. What should you wear to Beaver Stadium on Saturday evening?
With these fall temps, I would recommend probably a sweater or a sweatshirt, maybe a little bit of a light jacket, because it is going to be cooler, especially in the evening, because, it is a 7:30 kickoff, so that means, temperatures are going to be cooling off nicely into the night, and so it is going to be cooler compared to some of the other games we've had here at Beaver Stadium so far this season. And then I would throw in some long pants just in case.
Well, thank you very much for that, Patrick. Sounds good to me. Above that sea of white on Saturday evening will be a sea of darkness, and that takes us into our Weather Whiz Quiz question of the show. In the United States, how long after sunset does it take to become dark enough to see deep space objects? Is it A, 10 to 40 minutes, B, 40 to 70 minutes, C, 70 to 100 minutes, or D, 100 to 130 minutes? Patrick, what do you think the answer is?
I think I'm liking C. It seems like a reasonable amount of time to go from light to dark. And it seems quickly, though, but I think 70 to 100 minutes sounds about good.
Well, if you're right, you'll win the Whether or Not prize of the show. The correct answer is C, 70 to 100 minutes, and that prize is a high five from me.
Yeah,
great job, Patrick.
High five from Matt Hoenig.
In the northern United States, it takes about 100 minutes, or about 1 hour and 40 minutes after sunset, for it to become completely dark. It takes a little less time in the southern United States, however, around 70 minutes after sunset, for it to be dark enough for deep space objects to become visible. Between sunset and completely dark nighttime, there are 3 different stages.
Here in the northern United States, for about 30 minutes, we experience civil twilight, followed by about 30 minutes of nautical twilight, and then about 30 minutes of astronomical twilight. Each stage is slightly different as sunset transitions to the night. So definitely an interesting process to watch and a gorgeous one on a good day.
Definitely, and a very good guess by Patrick himself.
I actually got something right. Hopefully my exams go right.
Well, we'll see about that. That is all the time we have for this episode of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Matt Hoenig.
And I'm your forecaster, Patrick Wright.
Have a great day, everyone.
And have a good night.